באנגלית מאשר אלה שהם דובר אנגלית בלבד, מסתדרים בעברית. ויש כאן בין המנחמים, לא אזכיר את שמה בעברית, חמותי, שבעצם היא הייתה החברה הכי טובה שלי במשך 40 שנה. אז ברשותכם. סיבה שנייה היא שיש מילים באנגלית שלא מצאתי את התרגום. אני רוצה לתאר אמא שלי בתור the quintessential English lady, or if you prefer, the consummate English lady. אם אני אומר אישה אנגליה תמציתית, it loses something from the English original, as every translation always does. But I'd like to share, Mum, with your permission, with all the people here, what we're going to remember about you. You were born just about 1 mile from here. I don't know if everybody knows that. She was born in Sharet Tzedek on the 3rd of March 1931. Sharet Tzedek in those days was on the Rehov Yafo, where the Reshut HaShidur was until I think they closed down this week as well. So she was born just very close by here. 3rd of March 1931 was Yud Daled Adar Bet Purim. And Mum's life is actually the story of the Megillah. The story is the Megillah. She was born in the Mandate, the time of the British Mandate here. She was the youngest of 4 siblings. One of them, her eldest brother, is here waiting for her inside, Sam. L'habdil ben Chaim l'Chaim, she has an older sister, Beryl, sitting in London. And she has a older brother, younger than the sister, sitting in Spain. Neither of them could come here. She was the youngest of the 4 children. When she was born, her parents came from the United Kingdom in 1929. They were sent over by the American Express Company, for whom my grandfather, after whom I'm named, worked, and he was asked to set up a branch of American Express here in the Middle East, and they chose Jerusalem as the place. So Mum lived here in the time of the Mandate in a quasi-diplomatic atmosphere, because the people that her parents mixed with were the Heiche Fenster of the Mandate, the people like Shalom Horowitz, Beit Shalom and Rehov Ahad Am, which at that point was the most southern point of Jerusalem. Our mother was brought up in various houses, which you can go and still go and see. One of them is on Keren HaYesod. It wasn't until recently the Office of Medals and Coins. She lived on Rehov Al-Kharizi. And as I say, a story from that point on reads like a Megillah. Vayhi b'mei ha'mandat ha'briti. You know that they ruled from Hodu, Va'ad, everywhere else almost. Her life embodiment, her life embodied actually the message of Purim, which we all know is the message of unpredictability, not knowing what's going to happen in the future. And those of you who know the specifics of Hilchot Megillah, it has to be read in the right order, because none of it makes sense if you read one perek in front of another perek. You have to read it b'retzef, in the order which it's written. So she was born here in 1931. She went to the Evelyn Rothschild School, which in those days was in 2 different places. It was in Musrara, and it was, I think, somewhere else as well. Oh, was it? Also in Usishkin. I think it was in Usishkin as well. It was different points. But no one would have thought, when she was born, that she would end her days here. As I say, she was born to English parents who were here on shlichut, if you like, from the American Express Company. At the age 15, we think, age 15 or 16, in 1946, when things here were getting a little bit too hot for the American Express Company to handle, they decided to remove the family, the Salomon family, to Cairo. And my mother moved to Cairo at the age of 15 or 16, and she studied there in the American College in Cairo for a couple of years till 1948. when the Egyptians expelled the family, thinking having come from Palestine as Jews, they were probably doing up to no good in terms of their presence in Egypt in those very difficult times. So they were exported from Egypt back to England, where they moved to Manchester, a city you've probably heard of from one or both of us, because my late grandfather had a sister there. So the family moved to Manchester. Mum would have been about 17 or 18 at that time. Then we think she worked a bit. She didn't study university. At the age of, in 1954, she met our father, David Goldberg, who was a released captain of the intelligence in the British Army during the Second World War. Those of you who have seen the film The Imitation Game will have heard about Bletchley in England, where the German codes were cracked and the first computers were invented by a gentleman called Alan Turing. And in parallel to the German, there was exactly the same thing going on for Japanese. Dad was a classics scholar at Oxford at the time. Classics, to those of you who come from the colonies, means that he was studying Greek and Latin, classical languages. And if you saw the film, they wanted people who were very linguistically skilled and also were able to solve problems. So he was excellent at crosswords. And that was one of the things, if you noticed in the film, that they asked people to do as an entrance. But after the war, after 46, he was actually the first Jewish officer in Bergen-Belsen after the war, sent over as a captain in the intelligence after the war to deal with Jewish students. He went back to Oxford and was there allowed to study a profession of his choice, even though the rules when he was accepted into Oxford were that you had to finish the course you started. Because the war, 6 years in the army, they changed all the rules for returning soldiers and he became a lawyer. So my mother met a young, whatever the word is, a retired captain in the intelligence corps, who was then a young, struggling lawyer trying to find his way in the world, and they married in 54. And from there on, for 25 years, Mum was Dad's Ezer Kenegdo, raising the family. I know he was 33 years, but 25 years she was there doing that with myself and Gila, 6 years younger than me, which was an interesting number because it means when Gila was born, I left the house and went to elementary school. When Gila started elementary school, I left elementary school and went to high school. When Gila went to high school, I left high school and went to university. And when Gila went to university, I was gone. I got married, I think. So, or possibly before, I'm not sure. But basically, we never actually really overlapped until much later on in the story. So in 1977, that's when Mary and I got married. And as I said, Mum and Dad met the people who would become basically their best friends. Up until right now, and all the cliches, or whatever the right word is to use, or the preconceptions of relations between in-laws go out of the window in this story, because until now, Tesla having lost her husband 3 years ago made it even stronger. My mother and Tesla, Hadib and Chaim, were very, very close. So that was in 1977 when we got married, and in 1987, by the time that Gila had made Aliyah in 85, 6, and I made Aliyah in early 87, our father passed away at the age of 63 in Manchester, and Mum was left as a left widowed at the age of 56, and she was very much on her own. And that's really from the point of view of today where, for us, the story starts. Because that's when we first realised how selfless she was, because she was left on her own in Manchester. And we thought, well, what's going to be? We're here in Israel, and she's there, and she's going to be on her own, and it's going to be incredibly difficult. Well, Mum's whole life motto was never to be a burden to anybody. And we'll never know because we never asked her, because it would be wrong to ask her, I think. And we'll never know whether her decision to marry 10 months later was in any way influenced not just by a love for the person that she married, but also by a wish to ensure that she wouldn't be a burden on her children. It wasn't any stammer marriage. My father, as I say, who died in December '87, until his passing, or maybe a day or two before, had been saying in the Fainu, Tfilah of the Amidah, had been saying the Fainu for my mother's cousin, who was also very ill at that time. Dad had hepatitis B, which ultimately, whatever the phrase is in English, and she was ill. She lived in the south of England, and Dad was someone who davened 3 times a day. In England you say religiously, but it sounds sort of ridiculous. I mean, you daven 3 times a day because you daven 3 times a day. And he used to say this tefillah for my mother's cousin, Lita. Dad died, and then 2 weeks later Lita died, and then Lita's widower, who'd been brought up in this cousin Lita's house as an orphan, actually came to Manchester to be Menachem Avel to my mother, and they are the ones who ended up marrying 10 months later. So that was in about 88 when she got married, and she at that time left Manchester. Her life in Manchester as the wife of a lawyer, a Rotarian. Doesn't mean anything to most of you, but it means he was involved also in communal affairs, not specifically Jewish affairs. President of the shul, among living the life of the 60s and 70s in Manchester, which was a social and communal existence. Everything surrounded the community, and shul, and entertaining. Our house was always an open house for guests, students. We lived close to Manchester University. There were always Jewish students looking for a kosher home to come and have Shabbat and Yom Tov meals. So after leading that life in Manchester with my father for 33 years, she moved to the countryside in the very, very south of England, to a town which the Americans will have heard of, called Southampton, because that's where the Titanic ran itself, but all the transatlantic big ships used to go from Southampton to somewhere in New York or wherever. And there had been a very strong community there actually, but she married a cousin who was the president of the very dwindling Southampton community, and they lived 9 miles from the shul in a little village where there were more ponies than people, and certainly very few Jews. And as the wife of the president, and knowing far more than anybody else in the community, she actually became, with all no disrespect to the people who really fulfill this role, she became the Rebbetzin of Southampton. And again, any questions that came up, any phone calls, anything that had to do with the community, which wasn't very much, but whatever did come up, the university there, the Israelis came there to study. She was the go-to person for the Southampton community. And in the 23 years that she lived in Southampton, near Southampton, in this village called Lyndhurst, which none of you have heard of unless you've been there, Robert knows Lyndhurst, she fulfilled that role, same role as previously, but in a very, very minor way. So, I've lost the years here. In 1988, she moved down there, and during the next 23 years, until Sydney died, we saw Mum made on the Chagim, and she became Grandma Hilda. The children until that time would be very small, there was no real relationship, but from that time, our oldest would have been, in the 1980s, would have been not yet a teenager, and the children were all in that sort of, 0 to 10 age bracket. She became Grandma Hilda that she was until 2 days ago. She was the Grandma Hilda we'll always remember. She was the grandma with the exotic life story, where the Megillah of her life gave us cameo glimpses of a Jerusalem that once had been. She was so excited once when sitting around the table, after on Shavuot, if I remember correctly, it turned out that one of the guests was the granddaughter of one of her teachers from Evelina. So this were the sort of stories that happened. She used to come regularly. She used to tell us about life in Jerusalem. She was never the Savta, she was never the booby. We don't know how chicken soup tasted, and we never used to run to a house to get hot cookies. That's not who Mum was. She was Your Majesty the Queen. She used to visit 2, 3, 4 times a year to visit her subjects in Jerusalem and share with us stories of her life, mainly, for that part which was so interesting and so connected us to this city, her life in Jerusalem in the years 1931 to 1945-6. Your grandmahood was a whole different grandmahood to any other grandmahood that we know. We loved your stories of the Mandate, King George Avenue, Princess Mary Avenue, Drive, Avenue, okay. You told us that Baka, you told us, was an Arab village outside Jerusalem. You shared Evelina memories with your 2 Evelina granddaughters, Dana, who's over here, and Maya, who may be at the other end of her phone line in Chicago right now. She was in my company, so I don't know if Maya can hear me. So she's the other Evelina student. And Mum also, because she was here on Chagim, being that our house was also a very open house, as all your houses are in the neighborhood, got to meet Gila's friends and our friends, and she became a very valued guest at any of their tables. The messages I've received since Friday speak, Mum, of your elegance, your fascinating personality, your erudition, the stories that Gila told me just last night, of another story that I hadn't heard before, all stories from that period, right, of the Mandate. Manchester, really, she was just the Ezek Negdor of my father. Linters was a Tkufat Ma'avar of Lisrod, until she was coming to Jerusalem on the regular visits. Never in 23 years of living in Linters, in the New Forest, away from anywhere, never did you ask us, your children, for anything. In 2001, you celebrated your 70th birthday. And at that time, I think the boys, or one of our boys, was in the army, and we planned to do something nice for you and surprise you. I'm always trying to do surprises. And we wanted to get everybody to go to England and knock on your door for your 70th birthday and say, happy birthday, Grandma, happy birthday, Mum. Couldn't swing it. So what we did, some of you will remember this story, is I contacted a gentleman called Yaron Enosh on the radio, who ran...
Wrong answer.
Wrong answer. By the way, Mum's last wish was we would look after each other, which is why we're doing this like this. You can hear us over there? I went on this program on the radio. If you all remember the radio, we had a radio in this country until 2 days ago. It was called Hamador Lechipus Krovim. And most of it was for people who lost family or lost contact with family during the Holocaust or during many of the traumas that our people have suffered, trying to reconnect. And I went on the radio and I said, my name is my name. I'm the son of the former Hilda Salomon of Jerusalem, who studied in Evelina Rothschild School from the years about 37 to 45, and we'd like to contact any of her old friends. On the program they gave the phone number of the radio station, not my phone number, otherwise you're all sort of cranks phoning you up, I guess. And I heard nothing 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. On the 4th day, I get a phone call from the radio station, and they said, we've had 4 people contact us who remember your mother, and they'd like to be in touch with you. Cut long story short, we contacted those 4 people. Gila, I think, did it all. Contacted the 4 people, and we then said to Mum, why don't you come for Purim to Israel? And we invited her for Purim, and not for Sudat Purim, but for the day before or after, we said to her, why don't you come for dinner? I just fallen down some stairs or something else. We called it a Sudat Hodaya, because I'd broken my something, and come. So Gila brings her in, and on the way, what Gila had done, because she wasn't 100% healthy, we just didn't want anything to surprise her too much, Gila recorded my voice when I spoke to Yaron Enosh the first time, and she played it back to Mum on the 5 minutes for the drive from Arnona, or wherever, no, your house, I guess, from Talpiot to our house. And Mum sitting in Gila's car. She had a car in those days, before she became a Hell's Angel as well. And my mother said to Gila, hang on, isn't that Eric's voice on the radio? What's he saying? Gila goes...
She didn't say hang on.
She didn't say hang on. She said, oh my what? And Gila, yes, isn't that Eric on the radio? And Gila said, oh, yes, what's he saying? So Gila pretended to listen and said, oh, it looks like he's talking about you, looking for friends for you. So she thought this was a live broadcast on the radio at that moment. She didn't realise, of course, it was recording. Anyway, 2 minutes later, she comes to the house, and she walks up the stairs, and she walks in, and those of you who know our house, as you walk in, you can see through from the entrance into the living room. The table was set for dinner that we had promised her, but you could see with an archway through, from the entrance of the house, you could see a circle of women. And she goes to Gila, who are all those old women? And then I don't know if we even had a chance to answer her, but she then recognised the one person that she'd seen in the 55 years since she left the school in the interim on a visit to Israel, I think with our father, years before. And there is a movie of that reconnection, which was the beginning of the closing of the circle, because by that time, she and her then husband, Sydney, were already talking about moving together to come and live here in Israel, and we're looking for a place, and we're looking for a solution. Sydney was not that well, so that was in 2001. In 2011, Sydney died while they were still in England. They never actually made the aliyah that they were planning. And within a couple of months, we had them out to Israel. She became an Israeli for the first time, which was very good for her, because when she did travel afterwards, those annoying pkidim at the airport didn't say, "Madam, you were born in Jerusalem, where's your Israeli passport?" And she had to say to them, "Young madam, in 1946, there were no Israeli passports available." So she used to come in, she then got her Israeli passport. She lived totally independently in her apartment, which some of you hopefully will be visiting during this coming week. You know where to find us. And 6 months later, unfortunately, we had the first decline in your condition. When you fell, you broke in an irreparable way your shoulder, and then became dependent on a stick and some help. And at that point, we also had no requests from her to look after her. She said, "I'm staying in the house. If I need some help, organise some help." And I don't know if I can see her here right now. Is Vicky here? Vicky? Vicky, who, those of you who know the system here, Vicky was a matavit. Matavit is the Israeli helper who was sent by the government effectively to look after my mother several hours a day and make sure that she was able to maintain her house and herself in impeccable style. Again, so she was no burden on us. For 4 years, Vicky looked after her and became one of her closest friends. Even in the last 2 months, when Mum was no longer able to survive with just this 3-hour-a-day help, Vicky had become such a close friend, she continued visiting in her capacity as a friend. In September of this last year, 2016, Gila and I were told of your condition. We were told that you had cancer of the pancreas, and we decided in a split second that we would do everything possible to prevent you ever knowing that. And we think you probably knew what you had in a general form, but we never gave it a name. And that was a decision that we took with the backing of all the medical people that you met from then until Friday. No one ever used the cancer word. Even when you were taken to oncology for radiology, we just explained to you that the reason you're going to oncology is because that's where they keep the machine for doing the radiology. But when she was in hospital on various occasions, she was always in a surgical ward or a internal medicine ward or one of the other wards. And we played that game with her. It was successful. I don't know if it's successful, but in February of this year, for Maya's birthday, Maya, if you're still there in Chicago, it was the last time we got nearly all the family together, and we had lunch in that Halavi restaurant in the Namal in Tel Aviv. And you came with Gila. Gila brought you on that day, and nearly all of the family were there. And after lunch, Friday afternoon, we walked all the way from, if you know where it is, the northern part of the Namal by the river, walked all the way down to the very south end of the Namal, and back to the northern end with Mum on my arm, with the sun in her face and the wind in her hair. And she said this was just magnificent. And we have some photos somewhere of that, and that was only February of this year. February, Naomi and I went away, doing what we do, And when we came back already, within 2 days, she was coughing blood, and we rushed her into hospital where unfortunately, or maybe necessarily, that was really the beginning of the end. She was put on a song. They tried to repair the internal damage with a stent to enable her to eat. She came back home, and we made her a promise: no more hospitals and minimised pain. And that's how she was. And for those 2 months, she had the most incredible help from a young lady who is here. I remember her name. Feli. Feli's over here. Feli's been in Israel for 15 years. Now, Feli? 15 years from the Philippines. And she was, I don't know, a better son than I could ever have been. And I'm going to get kicked under the table here, but a better daughter than Nemi could probably ever have been. She was better than Nemi, than Gila could ever have been. She was an incredible person to have to look after our mother for the last 2 months. And no words will ever express our appreciation to you for the love and care and the tenderness with which you looked after her and joined in our game of trying to make her believe that there was hope. We forced you to sit in her living room watching British comedy, which is what was it called she watched? The Two Ronnies, Four Candles, Birds of a Feather. These are British comedies. We forced this Filipino young lady to try and appreciate British humour. She played the part fantastically well. And just 2 months ago, in another highlight of your Megillah, you were scheduled to attend the bar mitzvah of your eldest great-grandson, who, as another turn of Megillah shows, was born on Yud Dalet Adar, the same day you were born, 13 years ago. And your gift to him, the last gift you probably bought anybody, was a Megillah case for the Megillah, which was bought for him as a gift for his bar mitzvah, and also as a message of how Kodesh Baruch Hu is everywhere in the world all the time, also Hester. Megillat Esther is all about Hester. And when you had difficult times, Kodesh Baruch Hu was there. When you had good times, Kodesh Baruch Hu was there. That's a message that we gleaned from you. Thursday, having pretended that you were going to get well, Thursday 3 days ago, I said to you, Mum, are you afraid? She said, absolutely not. She knew she was going. She said, I'm absolutely not afraid. And she was very, very calm. And we spoke, and Gila held one hand, I held the other hand. Naomi was there Thursday and Friday. You asked us to look after each other, which is why we are standing here today looking after each other, as we have done, and I promise you we will continue to do. On Friday, you spoke to your siblings on the phone. Your brother in Spain, your sister in London. You could hear them saying, we love you, and you whispered back, I love you. And when your voice wasn't strong enough to go through, I took the phone and did that. On Friday morning, when the signs were all there, you said with me the vidui, the first half of the vidui. None of you, I hope, have ever said the vidui. I remember growing up as a kid with the ubiquitous Singer's Prayer book. As a kid, one of the back pages, I don't even know if they have it in Israeli Singularly. There was a thing that I remember being very frightened of as a kid, and that was on the back pages. It says vidui. It's vidui business, prayer on a deathbed. And oh goodness, that's what this is all about. And it never, of course, occurred to me, who would have thought that 86 years after your birth in Jerusalem, I would be sitting next to you, holding your hand, and you would repeat after me, word for word, the first part of the vidui. As it was 2 o'clock Friday afternoon, the nurse was there, Ferdy was there, Gila and I decided to go home and make some preparations, not knowing what was going to happen, when was going to happen. We made some preparations, and at 4 o'clock, the doctor from the home hospice who was looking after her came. Gila called me, I came back. Gila, when she called me, I said to her, is Mum still functioning? She said, yes. I said, now you can do the second half of the video, the part which ends with the Shema Yisrael, which we all know. And Gila said the second half of the video with my mother. I came back over, and by the time I got back, the signs were at the end, and we had Ferder there, Gila and I were there holding our hands, and the doctor was there from the hospice, a lovely gentleman, another lovely medical aid person there, who was so incredibly respectful and so incredibly helpful, and he said at the appropriate moment, she's gone. The Neshima Achrona was the sign for the Neshama to leave. Your body couldn't hold your Neshama anymore, Mum. There was no room. Your Neshama was so big. It's here now. And I know people are looking at you here. You're just, what we're looking at down here is just the casing of the Megillah. The token of the Megillah is here. The token of the Megillah is your stories of mandate, your stories of your whole life. And we're about to send you on your journey, as we discussed on Thursday, to a bigger space which can contain your neshama, but you're leaving us not with a recipe for cookies, and not with a taste of chicken soup, but with stories which will stay with us forever. In addition to thanking Feli and Vicky, I want to thank various people. I want to thank Gila, because she carried much of the responsibility when we were off gallivanting around the world doing what is called in Lashon Nonakia work. We weren't working, we've never worked, I can't remember the last time Nemi works, I've never worked. And when we were gallivanting around, the responsibility fell on Gila's shoulders with the help that she had. And I don't think Gila ever actually also called it to us for Chutz La'aretz. Everything was done carrying on this tradition of causing minimum pain. To my love of almost 50 years, and my wife of almost 40 years, Naomi, she was a daughter-in-law that nobody could ever have imagined she would be to my mother. That's why I made a mistake before, the Freudian slip. She was, again, Gila's going to kick me, she was as much a daughter to Mum as Gila was. And she was as close to her as any other human being could be. And Naomi, for everything you've ever done, for me, we'll get to that one day, but for what you've done for Mum, no words. To Mum's 5 grandchildren, correct? All of them are here, either physically or at the other end of a technological machine. Your loyalty, your love was shown on every possible opportunity when you visited her, whenever you possibly could. I'm not going to single anybody out, but I have to just mention one great-grandchild, because Alon is going to be neglected for the next 4 days, my great-grandson, because he's allowing, with his father, Aviu, and his grandparents, Shmuel and Raya, are allowing Liora to fill my place tomorrow on a tour to the Amalfi Coast and Sorrento. But I must tell you that all the kids volunteered to do it. Like, can I go, can I go, can I go? But Liora was, with some juggling, the one who went out, but all of the kids, one after the other, said, whatever it takes, whatever it needs, just buy us a ticket, we're gone. So kids, all of you, and Darren, I saw this on behalf of Gila, you were the most loyal grandparents, grandchildren you could ever have been to Grandma Hilda. To Kosh Baruch Hu, for being there throughout, we have great thanks. To the Chevra Kadisha, who showed up, that Mum died at 5:05 on Friday. At 6 o'clock, the Chevra Kadisha were already there to take her away. Again, Mum died at the most unburdensome moment. Had she died an hour later, we'd have been stuck with Shabbat and this and the whole situation. She died at 5:05. I don't know whether she was able to control it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in his chesed, took her at 5:05, chesed to us and chesed to her. Unfortunately, we had to delay, of course, this until today. But we want to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Mum, this is your swan song. It was a privilege. It was a privilege to have been your son. For Gila, it was a privilege to have been your daughter. We'll never forget you. We'll always love you. תהי נשמתך צרורה בצרור החיים.
הקוויה בן מעלה אומר הסתכל בשלושה דברים מנת נפל איתך ובא דע מאין באת ולאן אתה הולך ולפני מי אתה תיתן דין וחשבון מאין באת חנן אתה הולך למקום עפר למוות תולע ולפני מי אתה תיתן דין וחשבון לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא והוא רך ומרפא עוון ולא ישחית והרבה להשיב עמו ולא יאיר כל חמתו.
גדל וקדש שמך רבה, גאלמה יברח חירותך, גאלמת מלכותך, וחיי יכול וגם יכול וחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב יאמר אמן.
אמן.
הרב יתרומם להתנשא, תדע ותלך תדע שמך קודשה בריחוק. לילה מכל ברכתה ושלטה ושפתה ונחמתה, תאמירם בעלמה ויאמרו אמן. יש שלמר הרב בן שמעיה, חיים הליל ועל כל ישראל דברו אמן.
אמן.
עושה שלום במרומה, אבו יעשה שלום. הליל ועל כל ישראל דברו אמן.
אמן. כאן לכבוד מסע לוויה יוצא לגוש מ"ט, אנחנו פונים פה ימינה מגיעים לדרך מספר 9. בעלי הרכבים שייסעו אחרינו עם אורות, ידידים וקרובים מתכבדים לנסיעת הביתה.